which is nice. We talked about that. I think last year we were pretty understaffed. We're getting up there. So we're at, I want to say 51 officers right now, when this time last year we were at 39.
Oh,
So
that's a good bump.
Good bump.
Okay, sobriety checkpoints. You said we're going to have 3 more in the overall Rossmoor.
We're going to have a couple more in the near future. I don't know how much OTS gives us a grant, and they dictate how much we get and how many we can do with that grant money. So,
Are there any statistics on when you have sobriety checkpoints in a community, it does bring down, makes things safer, less alcohol consumption? Is there?
I don't know if it ever brings down alcohol consumption.
While driving?
But the driving part,
Yeah.
I believe so. It's a huge educational tool for us.
Okay.
I mean, you see it, we announce it, my partner announces it, I think it's a week prior, 48 hours, and then 2 hours prior. So he goes on social media and tells people, hey, sobriety checkpoint. Causes people to think twice about driving, especially on a holiday weekend or a weekend.
The last one you said was on Seal Beach Boulevard.
Seal Beach Boulevard.
Whereabouts on Seal Beach?
Right in front of the Seal Beach Police Department. It was there.
Down south.
We participated. Okay. We did a multi-agency one with them, so it was half us, half them.
How many arrests?
I believe 2 arrests were made.
Last question, and I'm sorry I'm taking all the questions here. E-bikes. We have our sheriff, who we love. AJ, our captain, comes in and talks about it. You talks about it. Who's ultimately responsible? Is it more of a highway patrol issue? Is it a sheriff issue? Is there a joint task force working on this? Because it just seems that the kids are getting, I hate to say it, more daredevil-like on these bikes. They're getting more aggressive. They're actually kind of becoming a little bit of a menace here and there, and I'm hearing stories.
Right.
I have one story where they literally blocked a whole street just to mess with people, lining up before they took off and went to school. I was tempted to follow them to the school and talk, by the way, those kids should not be riding their e-bikes here if they're going to do that kind of behavior. But ultimately, whose responsibility is it? Is it highway patrol or is it sheriff's?
So it could go on both.
Okay.
We do all the roadways. So if they're taking over roadways, right, blocking roadways, speeding on the roadways on their bikes, that's us. Sidewalks would technically be the sheriff's department, but we try and work together with them to kind of combat all the issues that we're having with them. And ultimately, it's a parent-child issue, right? Educate the parents, educate the children so that they're not doing this stuff. Showing them, like I said, we already had two e-bike collisions with injuries. That's too many, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's just more educational stuff if we can. We have some stuff in the works where we made a pamphlet. I think we passed those out last time. I have more at our office. I can always bring some here too, about like what you need to be having with the e-bikes. We have a training tool online with the California Highway Patrol. You can go on the website, and there's an online training of what you need to be doing, what you need to be looking out for. It's good for parents and kids alike. So,
Last question. Would you say the e-bike situation in Rossmoor is getting better or is it getting worse?
it's probably getting worse just because we're getting more and more e-bikes. So it's they're getting more and more affordable for everybody to have. So it just, we're on trend with every other city and county.
So in general, the problem is getting worse
Yeah.
because we're getting more bikes, more kids.
Right.
The popularity is growing, therefore the stats are going to grow with it.
So yeah, my collisions, like I said, I think these are my first 2 e-bike collisions that we've had here in a while. So just on that trend, it's an uptick.
Okay. Thank you.
Director Shade.
Oh, thank you, Officer Seferino. I appreciate you being here. I do have e-bike issues as well. We have a group here in Rossmoor of youngsters that are going around, and this has been all over social media on our local Rossmoor pages, where they're kicking the doors, and my husband actually put up a security system at the house because they left a big print on our door, and then they run and they get on their e-bikes, and they're very antagonizing. And it was like, they went to several houses on the street, and they're, and then I saw that it's happening all over Rossmoor, really. So it's just like this specific group. I actually tracked down one of the parents only because he was wearing a sweatshirt that ID'd him. I was able to find out with a little detective work on my part, I was able to figure out who that was.
I have applications at our office for it.
Okay,
So we
that's,
could- we could
I
use
want
more
to
of
know,
that.
like, can I pass information on to you guys, like
Yes.
regarding this, so that they have like a history of, you know, of what they're doing and whatnot, because it is an issue with the e-bike situation. I actually saw one where he was coming right at me doing a wheelie, and I'm going down the street, and he's not veering off at all. He's very aggressive, and it kind of freaked me out, and I'm like, God, this kid, you know, he's going to get hurt. Anyway, I stopped him and I said, you guys are going to get hurt. And I, you know, try to let them know in a very nice way that they're not being smart about how they're riding. Anyway, they did, you know, they did come down my street and they were banging on the doors and stuff like that. So I would like to be able to, is that something that we would report to you guys?
Yes, I would prefer it that you report to, you can email me. I think Ms. Mendoza has my email and
Okay.
my card. I can bring some more and give it to him. But yeah, email me and I can kind of look into the issues that you're having and what specific times you're having them at.
Okay.
So that way I could adjust my hours and maybe come out, do patrols out here, or have my guys come out here and do that.
All right,
as
I
well.
see a lot of parents on the websites that are frustrated with the e-bikers where they're, you know, going down Los Al Boulevard doing wheelies and through Target Shopping Center, and it's just a nonstop issue that we are dealing with. Also, you said you had 2 e-bike injuries. When were those?
You know what, I'll have the dates. I just wrote down that they were. I can get those for you though.
Okay, no, I mean, I was just curious as to, like, you know, how long ago, or were they recent?
They were from, when I compiled all this, it was just from my last meeting, which was November. I
Okay,
believe.
so in the last quarter.
From November to March, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, I thank you, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you, ma'am.
I appreciate you.
Director Imnay.
Thank you for everything you're doing. It's really working well. Our side, the things that have been a concern over the past month, 2 months, we're getting smiles from the people.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Director DeMarco.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for the report. What's the coverage for Rossmoor, for CHP, for our residents to understand, being in an unincorporated area? So you just said that you try to be here a couple days a week. I'm sure you have other jurisdictional, you're on the freeway and stuff like that. Could you just briefly go over, you know, what's CHP coverage for on a given week or a given month or something like that? How many times you guys come into Rossmoor, and is it based on calls, or I know that you know, you guys had a number that we could call if you know, there were traffic violations, like, you know, same person speeding through a stop sign, you could, you know, report that. But just kind of go over that. You know, how does Rossmoor fit in your jurisdiction and your you know, the station's coverage of our area?
Sure. So I have to split my time between Rossmoor, Anaheim Island, which is just Brookhurst area, like in between Garden Grove, Anaheim, and then Midway City. So my time gets split just with me. I have units that patrol the freeways. We have freeway units, and they'll come down. If I ask them to, like, hey, we're getting complaints of somebody running a stop sign, let's say, or somebody speeding down Montecito, they'll come down here, do enforcement if they can, if they're not getting calls on the freeway. You might see some guys sitting at coffee over at Pete's, right? It's a good place to get coffee, and then they'll come in here. My motors will come in here and just do drive-throughs during the week. I have a couple motors on the weekend that'll come out here and also patrol during the week. The weekend nighttime crew is kind of a little harder. They're kind of get busy on the freeways, so it's hard to split the time to come down here just to do enforcement. It is a little slower in the evening down here, so it's not that it gets out of control, but they try and come down here if they can.
Okay. So, and you said based on, you know, incidents, so it is very important that if there is a problem to report it, kind of like Director Shade, even with the e-bikes, but anything on our streets, it's important for residents to report it so you know, and we could get the resources if it's a recurring issue, correct? Okay.
Correct. That's the best way to do it.
Yep, all right. Thank you, officer.
Thank you.
And just quickly, just an update as to your overall staffing of the department and division.
Department-wide?
Yeah,
Ooh, I have to get you the numbers on that one. Doing a lot better. I want to say they hired, we had a program where we were trying to hire 1,000 officers, and they were super close. I think they're at like 990 officers, so doing a lot better.
okay, thank you.
No.
And thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, sir.
That's it.
Cool.
You're good.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. We really appreciate it. Moving on to item B, additions to the agenda. We have none. Public forum. Any person may address the Board of Directors at this time upon any subject within the jurisdiction of the Rossmoor Community Services District. However, any matter that requires an action may be referred to staff at the discretion of the board for a report and action at a time at a subsequent board meeting. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes per item with 9 minutes cumulative for the entire meeting. I do have a card here, but I believe it is as to an agenda item. Is that correct? Or you're here to discuss one of the tree items? Yes. All righty, we'll wait until then. Thank you so much. Moving on to item D, reports to the board. Report on the urban forest with our district arborist, Mary Kingman. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, President Ciros and the directors. So I did include the statistics for the first 2 months of 2025, but my report will be focused more on the entirety of 2024. So the tree data for 2024 is as follows. Just over 1,700 trees were pruned by district contractors. We had to remove 91 trees due to different issues, pests, disease, structural issues. I did include a detailed, sheet on the removal in the report, if you care to look at that. There were 2 unauthorized trimming and removal citations issued. 40 limb failures occurred, and I did include a detail on that also. There was 1 complete limb failure, and that was during a rainstorm, and that tree was scheduled to be removed. There were 5 property damage claims in total, and 440 resident service requests were responded to. This time, there are 5,213 trees planted in Rossmoor at the time of the report. There may be a few more now because they were planting last week, and valued at over $18 million. So that's a lot of trees, and they provide a lot of benefit and value to the community. And that concludes my report if you have any questions.
Director DeMarco?
Yes, I'm trying to find it. There were a couple trees that it said county decided they were healthy and county decided to remove. Where is that, Mary?
So I'm sorry that when I sent this report, the tabs were labeled, but I forgot to label the actual at the top of the spreadsheets. So that is, I believe it's the third page after the report.
So you're familiar with those, I'm sure.
Yes,
So
yes,
what's the circumstances under the county? I
So-
mean, did that obviously didn't go through us?
No, they did inform me, but they did supersede our authority there and decided.
And these were healthy trees?
They were healthy, but for different reasons, they wanted to remove them due to sidewalk issues or what they
So
assumed to be
there were
property.
issues with the trees that they just went to the county?
Yes, they went to the county, yeah. Or county came and inspected the sidewalk, looked at their records, and decided that they would remove the tree.
And there was, again, I can't, I'm sure it's right in front of me, but I think I counted 3 of those last year.
Yeah, there's 3,
Okay.
yeah.
And you're familiar with those three, right? And
Yes,
so did the county circumvent RCSD?
yes.
Okay. And over the years, how many times do you think that, like, how many times did that happen in 23 or 22 or?
It seems to be increasing a little. It previously was maybe one or two a year, but we did have 3 last year. So I do want to report that because it does seem to be increasing.
And because you know every tree in here, Mary, I'm asking, I know you know on these particular trees, these 3 last year, did they request to get them removed prior to them going to the county?
Yes.
And
And I denied the removal request because under the policy, they didn't qualify for removal.
because they were a healthy tree and, okay.
Right.
Okay. Excellent report.
Thank you.
Excellent report. Thank you, Mary.
Director Remne?
Hi, thanks for keeping our trees in such great shape.
Oh, you're welcome.
Through the chair, I don't know if this is appropriate or not. One of the things that I'd like to see, especially with the West Coast Arborist contract coming up, we have a lot going on with the trees between what they trim, what the county trims, what our district trims. Is there a way of identifying who's doing what in these to get a handle on that? Is the first part of it.
Sure.
And the second one is there a way of knowing when the last grid trim is on the ones that went down and how old the trees are?
So to answer the different entities that are pruning the trees, on my report where it says safety pruning OCPW, those are all county trims. And any grid pruning or off-grid pruning would be West Coast Arborist.
Okay, and everything else is the district?
The district only prunes very minimally. Excuse me. We don't get up on ladders. We're mainly raising the crowns for clearance, or if we can reach a hanging limb that's broken with our pole pruners and get it out of the tree, removing sprouts from the base of the tree that are growing and causing some kind of clearance issue or just causing a growth issue with the tree. But we don't actually get up and do climb into the trees and do pruning. So it's very minimal. I do have records of all the work we do. I just don't include it in the report.
Oh, no, you're doing great, and trees do their own thing. Mine are like wild cuts, haircuts in my yard. But yeah, if I can come in and talk with you before I look at the contract, just to get a better handle around what's going on with the contracts, that would help me a lot if that's okay to do.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And then, I'm sorry, what was your other question was?
Same thing, don't need to
Okay.
take board business with it.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, I'm good, thank you for everything you do.
Director Shade?
Hi, Mary. Thank you for everything that you do. I'm at the meeting, I was at the tree meeting, so I know a lot of details that you have given, and your report is amazing. I appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Maynard?
We're all in agreement. You're doing a wonderful job. I'm glad to be on the tree committee for the first time in my 11 or 12 years here. What I am concerned about is we have policies on trees. Residents have come, you have said no, and then later on they've just decided to go back to the county. So, Mr. Mendoza and council, that seems a little bit of encroaching. I think we need to get on top of that and find out. We either have authority on trees or we don't, and the fact that they didn't even consult. We've made a decision, months later, they go directly to the county, and then the county just does what they want without working back with us. I think there's something here that's broken, and I think we need to figure out how to fix it.
The scenario is the resident sometimes, I don't know if all 3 of these are the same scenario, has an issue with their tree, and it could be the sidewalk, could be the raised gutter or whatever.
Right.
And so they might have came to Mary saying, no, it's a healthy tree. But if there's a history with the county of them replacing sidewalk and gutters over a period of time, the county does come to us and say, hey, we're going to take this tree out because of ongoing issues. And so I don't think it's you know, you take 3 trees out of 5,000, 6,000 trees, that's a very small percentage. So I think we have a working relationship with them, and it's working. You have to take into account what the cost is to the county also. I mean, if they're coming out here 3 or 4 times in a matter of so many years, it's costly.
It's costing the county, yeah.
Yeah, and some of our trees are getting older, and the root systems are getting larger, and they're tearing up some of the infrastructure. Yeah.
Mary, were you surprised when were you in the know, meaning they said, oh, by the way, we're still taking out these trees, or did they tell you after the fact? The
After
county.
they removed them?
Yeah.
No, they told me they were going to remove
Oh, okay,
them.
okay. So you weren't surprised, because you should never be surprised.
No, I wasn't, I didn't come across a tree that was removed and didn't
Okay.
realize they were moving it. They did inform me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Okay.
Mary,
Yeah.
I guess my only question would be, like, what do you want residents to know about their trees? Like, if you just get one, message to them this quarter, what would it be?
So I would hope that residents know that the trees are providing them a great benefit and that they're providing canopy cover for the whole community, and them individually also. They're providing oxygen, they're capturing pollution, they're storing carbon in their wood. They're making the neighborhood more desirable and healthier. So I don't think people realize the great benefit, all the benefits that trees provide. So to a lot of people, trees are a nuisance, and they have to put up with different things, undesirable aspects of trees, and they all have some undesirable aspect, at least one. So I would say just educate yourself on how much benefit trees provide to an individual, a family, and a community. So hopefully it can be more appreciated.
President Searles?
Yes. Go ahead,
One
Director
little,
Navarro. Yes.
just
No,
Just one little follow-up.
Yeah.
So I guess just in the 3, it would be nice to have an explanation when a circumstance comes about that county supersedes that, and maybe there is a whole report to these 3 that were taken. So as we're gathering, and again, I'm not on the tree committee, so as I'm just asking, I don't know, I just see the 3 trees that say we're healthy.
Right.
So if we could just maybe have some, on future, when that happens, that we just have a little bit of a, I mean, you've told us, but just have a little
Right.
bit of, because this is in record, and we don't want to get the wrong message out that, oh, if the board says, you can't remove a tree, we can just go to county and the county will
Right,
remove it.
yeah.
So that's not the message. Whole process, a whole policy on our beautiful trees here, and we want to protect our forests, so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
kind of
they typically don't just remove trees for no reason. They do have their reasons, and sometimes I don't agree with them, but that they're a different agency,
Yep.
and they have their reasons. So I will start including that
Okay.
as a report.
Thank you.
Yes, Director Rimney.
I just want to say with the small amount that the county is dealing with, you're doing an excellent job on handling them, and we're not the definitive authority on it because the public has a right to a public appeal to another level. We have maintenance agreements with them. But just to the point of how few get to the county level tells me you're handling them really well. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to say one last thing, and I think we'll be good. If you just had a moment to, I know it's in our agenda at the very last with the general manager's updates, but Arbor Day celebration is next month, and I don't know if you'll be back with us next month or if you'll just be handling that, but if you just kind of introduce that, I know we'll have a meeting in between.
Yeah, oh, sure. So that's scheduled for April 25th, and the reason we're doing it that week is because it's spring break, and we like to include the kids for the youth center camp that are at Rossmoor Park during spring break, and it's great to have so many kids to be part of this event. And we also usually have Girl Scouts there, Boy Scouts, West Coast Arborists will come out and plant a tree for us. We give away plants, trees to the kids, and do games. We do a tree scavenger hunt where I hide stuffed animals up in the trees, and they have to find the animals based on what the tree looks like. We do some crafts with the youth center, and it's a fun little event. It's usually in the afternoon, so I think it's on a Friday this year. And the kids really love it, and they just, honestly, they love getting plants way more than plastic toys and, you know, the usual prizes. They get really excited about winning plants.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much, Mary.
Okay, you're welcome.
And moving on to item E, the consent calendar. Consent items are expected to be routine and non-controversial, to be acted upon by the board of directors at one time. If any board member requests that an item be removed from the consent calendar, it shall be removed by the president so that it may be acted upon separately. Is there any request that an item be pulled from the consent calendar? Hearing none, I'd move to vote on the consent calendar.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, thank you. F, public hearing, there is none on the agenda tonight. Item G1 of the regular calendar, discussion and possible action regarding recommendations from the Tree Parkway Committee. Mr. Mendoza.
To the board, we have 3 requests for tree removals before you tonight, and I want to preface that with our tree committee did meet on February 27th and had a hearing and had lengthy discussions with all 3 residents about the tree that they're requesting to be removed. And the first one we're going to hear is a request from 2871 Tucker Lane, and it's Mr. and Mrs. Rowe, and they're asking for the removal of a tree, and based on safety, I believe. It's a magnolia, and I believe it drops some pretty large balls that fall on the ground that become a tripping hazard. We kind of renamed them grenades. We were having fun with it. But it's pretty prevalent throughout Rossmoor. We have a number of trees that are magnolias, and Mary's here also to answer any questions if you have them. And I believe Director Shade and Director Maynard will also give their opinion and give you more input as to what the discussion was. So the tree is 19 years of age, and it has a value of approximately $2,070.
Alrighty, I'll go ahead and defer to the committee to initially speak. Director Maynard and Director Shade.
Yeah, okay, so we did have a meeting regarding this, and we talked about the so-called grenades and the issue that they're having at their home is they're basically just littering their sidewalks. The tree is littering their sidewalks, and there was an injury that occurred because the resident actually tripped on one of these out on a walk and injured herself. And basically they just got, kind of fed up with it and said, this needs to be removed. We're done with this tree. After dealing with the tree littering and then tripping on it. So that's the gist of it, basically what has happened and why they're here and why they're requesting the tree removal. They can speak to it more on themselves, but this is what has happened. And based on that, we're all going to have our options on how we feel this should be voted on and what we think should be done. But based on the tree location and, where it's at and the issues that the residents are having and the other magnolia trees that are in Rossmoor, it is my recommendation that we do not remove the tree. I think that we have a lot of trees of that nature in Rossmoor. They're beautiful trees, and I would love to have that tree in front of my house. I wish it was for their sake more than anything. I actually wanted that tree specifically in front of my house, and I was unable to get it at the time. It was unavailable. But I feel horrible that there was an injury due to the tree because of the, so-called little pods that it puts out. It's a horrible thing that she was injured on this, but I feel like that's like a natural thing that the tree does, and we have several of those trees in the neighborhood, and I would hate to think that this would snowball and people start thinking they can just remove the tree because of this. Basically, that's it.
Director Maynard?
I would like the family to come up and talk, and then I'll tell you
Okay.
where I'm at.
100%.
Yeah. Welcome.
I would like them to be heard.
Yes, for sure. Mr. or Ms. Rowe, if you'd like to come speak. And welcome, and thank you for attending. It is sincerely appreciated.
Yes, we had a good meeting with the Tree Committee and Parkway Committee. We appreciate your attention. May I approach you to show you the...
You may.
She characterized them as small or something. They're really not.
They're grenades.
These aren't the ones. I kept it for a number of months. They seem to be non-biodegradable. You may have them.
We've seen that.
First of all, I'm a fourth-generation Californian. This is not a native tree, to my understanding. My grandfather was born in Downey in 1887. We love trees. We have two redwoods, a Lippo pine, and another evergreen in our backyard. We have 2 orange trees and 2 lemon trees. We had a sycamore when we first moved in. It had to be removed. We're not asking for no trees. We just like a tree without these grenades dropping. My wife tripped on one. We walk all the time. All the time. One time she wasn't maybe paying complete attention and rolled her ankle and fell down. That one time is one time too many. Now, I realize we can't do it with the whole place. I'm sorry they were ever put in. I think Commissioner Shade has a bias because she wanted that in front of her own house. That's a favorable tree to her. It's a pretty tree, but those grenades are hazardous. I think you could actually puncture a tire with one of those things if they're pointing in the right direction. They do not biodegrade until you put them in the trash. The other thing I'd like to say is when we moved into Rossmoor, we helped plant at least 5 trees around this park when this was still a school. It was converted to a park. We took our 2 daughters. We went around and planted trees all around the park. We have a tile over here in the play yard tile area. Never come to a meeting before, but at least we can make our tree in our yard safe. We can't do anything about the other ones down the street. Somebody took it upon themselves thinking this whole street should have magnolias, so they're all the same. The street one time had all sycamores, the big giant ones. Now they're primarily magnolias. But we would put in another tree. We're not adverse to trees, obviously. We've offered to pay for the removal of the tree. I mean, there needs to be. They gave us an estimate of $1,200, I think. Maybe I just say we'll pay up to $1,200 or pay $1,500 to have for the expenses. We just want this tree gone. From our own family history, my wife's mother rolled her ankle, fell down at an older age, never recovered, died like a year or 2 later from the ankle injury. Then it went to a hip replacement. She never recovered from that and died, and it all started with a fall. One fall's too many. The county, you were talking about the county just came out and changed our sidewalk in front of our house. They thought the elevation was a little too high, so last week they replaced the sidewalk. We didn't make a complaint, we didn't ask for it, we didn't do anything. They just came by and said they didn't have to wait for an accident to do anything. They just thought, this should be done in the interest of safety. I don't think anybody even complained about anything. Let's wait till we get a serious accident. Are you kidding me? This is very foreseeable. I don't think these trees should be planted, maybe in El Dorado Nature Center or something, but I don't think they should be planted along a sidewalk where those things, they're still falling down. They seem to fall down year round. I don't know why they don't have 2 weeks and then they're gone, or a month and then they're gone, but they seem to just be perpetual. I picked up those 2 days ago, and my wife's accident was back in November. I don't know what more I can say, but we had a nice meeting, and it seemed like it was a reasonable request to at least do what we can have control over, that one tree. And again, we planted a tree as recently as a couple of years ago when our neighbor, original Rossmoor resident, died, 2 years ago, Karen? And he has a memorial tree out here that the family that we put in the Rush Park. So it's not about trees. That's why we moved here. But that tree, I don't know who made the decision to put in magnolias, but the leaves do not biodegrade. The seed pods are fragmentation grenades, like I threw at basic training at Fort Ord, and I want the tree gone, and we'll pay for it. Anything else you want to say? Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. No, Director Maynard?
I drove by the neighborhood, and they live on a cul-de-sac, and the whole cul-de-sac has this tree. This is Tucker, really close here. And then when you go Tucker across the street, there's more of them. So while it's unfortunate that they've lived with this tree for 14, 19 years, she rolled her ankle on it, and I feel bad about that. But if we did decide to remove this tree, if she's walking about the neighborhood, there's still 6 or 7 with her neighbors across the cul-de-sac, et cetera. So that threat does not disappear by removing the tree. And additionally, the tree is off to the right of their house, so they still have a distance if they go up the sidewalk to their house. I just don't see a logical reason I see the emotional reasons, but the risk of her still, or anyone, stepping on it and rolling their tree or rolling their ankle on this seedling output of the tree, that risk doesn't go away if we remove a healthy tree from their premises. So that's where I'm going to hold firm with my colleague, Joe, that I do not believe that this warrants it. Now, if the board wants to make a decision that this tree is a menace to all of Rossmoor, that's a different story, and that we could come back with more input on that. But removing one tree does not change the risk of this family or any other family from accidentally stepping on it and rolling their ankle.
Director DeMarco?
Mary, we have 150 of these trees?
I believe so.
Okay.
I have to look at my report.
Do some of these trees produce more of these pods, or pretty much every single? Is there like a male and female or anything like that?
Yeah, it's like that for all trees. Some will produce more of everything.
Would you
Flower more.
So are you familiar with this tree?
Yeah, I did go and inspect the tree,
Okay.
yeah.
Would you say that this one produces more or average or less than if you had to guess on the 150 that?
I didn't notice an excess of any seed pods on the tree, but yeah, I only went and, I inspect the trees regularly, but unless there's something extenuating, like something I can see visually that's dramatic or severe, then I wouldn't note it.
And this whole street has this tree, this species?
Yeah, Tucker Lane, not this Tucker between Solar Fox and Montecito, but Tucker, the cul-de-sac off Foster, and then going down between Foster and Martha Ann. The magnolia was the original tree. I don't know why, but the whole street was planted with magnolias.
Not originally, though. It was a replacement tree.
No, not originally.
But then the sycamore was taken out, and then for some reason, the whole street was lined with magnolia.
Yeah, and some of them are mature, very mature, so I'm guessing it was maybe
Maybe
30
before.
years ago or so that some of these magnolias.
Do we still
got
plant
planted.
magnolia?
We do, yeah. It's still recommended as a street tree from the agency that I look to for this.
What is your recollection of this board removing a tree for safety, for a trip hazard, or, because I remember one incident, but do you have a recollection as how many trees have we removed for safety in terms?
I
No.
don't have an exact number, no. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But Tony, on her report, and I believe it's included in
Yeah.
here, she does an assessment. And on her assessment, it says this tree does not suppose or propose any major health or injury issue.
Well, I mean, and if it did, so would the rest of the 149
Yeah.
trees
Right.
that we own, or we take care of, or we manage.
We shepherd.
Yeah.
It doesn't pose a significant health threat.
Director Rimney?
I have to disagree. I believe that although we run a community and a community of trees, every resident takes care of the tree in front of their house. And we're not talking about removing a tree. We're talking about replacing a tree that they are willingly cooperating with on that. And the fact that we haven't had a claim doesn't mean that there isn't the risk of injury. And I think that in terms of safety of everyone walking through the neighborhood and through the parks, we shouldn't say nothing has happened yet. That someone would say the tree in front of my house needs help. I'd like to see us work with the neighborhood rather than saying our trees have to stay the way they are because nothing's happened. So respectfully, I disagree with you.
All right. Legitimately, I think we're all challenged by this. I would agree with Director Rimney for the outcome. My thought on this is it doesn't matter necessarily that how many of these trees exist. If they're not good for, the particular resident. One resident may want to keep theirs, and I don't see this being a situation where all these are going to be removed immediately because everybody's going to come in. Some people are going to like them. Some people are going to find it to be something that they have no issue with going out and using a broom and sweeping these off their sidewalk, and other residents aren't. I will say it's kind of demonstrative to feel this and realize it's essentially, to me, as if a rock were dropping from a tree. It feels more like a rock, and if we said essentially we were going to put rocks out in front of people's sidewalks or on their sidewalks and they would have to engage with that every day, none of us would think that's acceptable. But because it's part of a tree, it's treated differently. I think it's not our role, and it's, and I think it's not the right forum for this board to speculate as to future injuries or past injuries as to whether it was reasonable that this did exist for the resident. And they want to replace their tree. They're here tonight. I would be in support of allowing them to get, allowance from the board to have their tree replaced. But that would be my suggestion. If there is
Can
further
we just-
dialogue, or we can have a vote.
Say that one more time, what was that?
Would you like further dialogue? Or
Yeah,
okay.
let
Go
me
ahead,
just-
Director DeMarco.
Yeah, thank you. Let's just play this out then. Our 80 or 60 to 80-year-old sycamore trees drop big branches. Okay, so, one could argue that they're unsafe. Okay, and we've talked about this before, that would cost an enormous amount of money to remove all of our giant sycamore trees. I know many residents, one's a good friend of mine, that hates the droppings in front of their tree. So is it the Director Ramnay, the President Searles, is it your position that if they, I mean, again, anyone, I mean, and I'm not discounting, I appreciate you coming, okay, I appreciate you guys coming, and I'm sorry anybody got hurt tripping over this, but, you know, we're tasked at managing all of this for the entire community, and, you know, we all have to be careful when we decide there might be, have major ripple effects, certainly on this species of tree, setting a precedent that I would say, I would almost, if we went to survey everybody, yeah, probably a lot of them, yeah, I don't care. A lot of them are going to care. So what, if that's what we're going to start doing, and then there should be almost a policy where you need to come and, you know, do what they're suggesting to do or more to replace either a faster growing tree, a tree of our liking, but I understand it's they're taking care of it, but I don't know, I'm on the fence on this because I certainly appreciate them coming, that they feel it's a hazard. We have 150 of them, but I know a lot of people that they don't like their droppings. No, I'm just saying if well, it's to both of you. I mean, how do we move forward with, you know, again, because I'm sure a lot of residents are going to say it's a safety concern and I want to remove my tree.
And you may be correct that there might need to be a policy change, but this isn't a town hall meeting. This is one resident talking about one tree currently creating an issue for them. And they have come forward trying to resolve a personal difficulty with a personal tree in a situation that's troublesome. And rather than applying a corporate solution to it, I think we look at that going forward as opposed to speculating about something that people may or may not want, or the tree being healthy or not being healthy, and respect what's being brought to us.
I disagree. It sets a precedent, in my opinion. And again, being on the tree committee for many, many years, we have said no to removing healthy trees. So it's kind of a reversal if we go to remove this tree.
And again, we're replacing it.
Well, that is the policy. There's never a removal. There's always a replacement.
Sure.
Rossmoor hears about the trees in our logos. But our policy is if it's a healthy tree, we usually try our best to protect it. I look at the situation, and I hate being put in this position that we have to make these decisions. There is a humanity part of it. But they've had this tree for 19 years or 14 years. I'm a little dyslexic there. She just happened to roll her ankle on it once, and now they want it completely gone. And again, it's not like in the center of the house, it's all the way over to the right on the side of their garage. I actually went out and looked at the site because these decisions do mean something to me. We are neighbors. So I look at this and I think that it does create a slippery slope. This is a healthy tree. And by removing this tree with the amount of walking they say they do, the problem doesn't go away. Rossmoor loses a mature tree. We have a board that's not protecting policy. And I'm sorry that you rolled your ankle on the tree. And I've been to your neighborhood, so if you please be careful walking. I mean, I can understand where you get angry, where, oh my gosh, let's get rid of this, but no, I'm still talking.
Respectfully,
Yes.
Director Maynard,
Yeah.
he just asked if he'd be able to speak. He did not interrupt you. You can go ahead, but please,
Well, now, he just kind of,
go ahead.
I guess, no.
Okay.
They've all talking. You said no to me, you said no to me, you said no to me. I'll wait for my vote.
Okay. Mr. Rowe, if you'd like to speak further.
When the sycamore tree was removed, we were not given a choice of trees. I don't know who the tree person was at the time, but they decided that would be a magnolia street. Those were all sycamores on that, especially the cul-de-sac, but from what I understand from the 3 or 4 original homeowners when we moved in, it had uprooted the asphalt out in the middle of the street. So they removed all of them. Our original owner wanted his tree, so he fought that removal. So we inherited an original sycamore. But we were not given a choice, the way I understand that it's done now, where you can choose a tree, and one of our neighbors chose a tree that doesn't, it's like a sterile, doesn't have seed pods or anything. And I would make the argument that this is fairly unobtrusive, where, a branch from our sycamore tree did fall down every once in a while, but it's pretty open and obvious when you have a big branch that's 6 or 8 feet long. But I appreciate General Manager Mendoza for following through on this, because it hardly ever gets done in bureaucracies. And I appreciate the chance to come here and speak. All I have control of is this one tree, and you guys are looking at all the other ones, setting a bad precedent. Well, we can take care of our one tree. That's the most I can do, and I'm going to pay for it, too.
Thank you. Director Maynard, do you wish to speak further?
No.
All right, thank you. Director Shea, do you have anything further?
I just would like to add that I know it seems like I might be biased, but I'm actually not, and I am super respectful of home ownership and what you would like in front of your home. My concern is that it does set a precedence, especially since their whole cul-de-sac does have these, and it kind of gives the rest of the neighbors a green light to go ahead and have them removed as well. I would also like to mention that I know we're talking about sycamores, but we have like other trees that have droppings in the neighborhood, and we have more people on our agenda at our tree meeting that had issues with tree droppings as well. And it's not these, it's another type. And I'm sure we're all familiar with that tree as well. And I just want to mention that that is a reason why they want the tree removed as well. So it's not just, I can't be biased for one resident and not another. I have to put myself as being on the tree committee for the trees. So that's why I choose to go for the trees.
All righty, thank you. Any further discussion? I'd ask for a roll call vote.
Is this a roll call vote?
I'd like that.
I think for transparency, that we can clearly hear who votes how, it would be easier if we do a roll call vote.
Perfect.
We get a roll call vote. Director Maynard?
So is it the motion, there is a motion, or was there not a motion? Or
I don't believe there was a
what?
motion.
So is a
We don't
vote
need a
yes?
No, there's not a motion.
Where are we?
Yeah, there's not a motion.
There's not a resolution, so I'm a little confused.
My procedural recommendation is this would be the time to make a motion unless they want to hear further testimony from the residents and then make a decision either to deny or approve the request.
All right. Director Rimney, you wish to present a motion?
I move that we reject the recommendation of the committee and allow the homeowners to participate and cooperate in replacement of the tree.
If I may, I'll offer a suggested revision to the motion, that the motion be that we permit an exception to our tree policy to allow the resident to have the tree removed and replace at their cost.
I'll accept that.
All right, I'll second the motion to
Amend your motion?
To oppose the recommendation of the committee.
No, it's I suggest that your motion be that the board is moving to allow an exception to our tree policy, and by doing so, allow the resident to remove their tree and replace at their cost. And I would second that motion.
Okay.
So a vote of nay is to oppose the resident's exemption and to uphold the tree policy, if that makes sense.
Well, how can, wait. Okay, I think I got that.
If you're not, let me know before you vote, because I don't.
So a yay says we're giving an exemption to policy and
Yes.
it's okay to remove the tree.
Yes.
And nay is otherwise.
Correct.
And nay holds with policy.
Nay holds the policy.
Okay.
Director Maynard, or I guess Carolyn will do the roll call. Thank you, Carolyn.
Director Maynard,
Nay.
Director Shade,
Nay.
Director Emney,
Yay. Yes.
Director DeMarco,
No.
President Searles.
Aye. The vote, the motion fails 3-2. Thank you so much. Moving on to the next item. Item agenda C2, citizen request for removal of a parkway tree at 3042 St. Albans Drive. Mr. Mendoza.
Yes, President Sherrills, members of the board, this is another request by a resident at 3042 St. Albans Drive. I don't know if the residence is, yeah, there they are. The, Shauna Estrada is requesting that the parkway tree in front of her home be removed due to ongoing sewer issues involving roots and the parkway tree. Her suffering from allergies related to the tree is also a major issue with the sap from the tree dripping onto the park vehicles and her, I guess, her medical history. Mary did assess the tree. Mary's here to answer any questions. But in her summary, she said, based on her visual observation of the tree at the time of inspection, the tree has an overall low risk of causing personal injury or property damage. The tree should be monitored and inspected every 4 months for any changes in its health or condition. So basically, the request is coming in as a health issue to the resident because of the pollen and other things that may cause ongoing issues with her physical needs. So I would like to again ask the committee to chime in. Mary's here to answer any questions, and I'm also available.
Director Shade, as a committee member, would you like to speak?
Sure, yeah. So we went over this during our meeting, and there's a health issue with this one related. So this one's got a whole other spin on it. This is an issue for the resident, that she's got allergy issues to the tree itself. It is a high pollinating tree. We've looked into this with Mary, and she assisted us with the insight on this tree specifically. The resident has a doctor's note here that we were able to look over and get some inside information on that. It's been verified that this is happening. It's an issue for our residents. So with that being said, I would like to say that say that this tree probably does need to be removed, and I'll probably vote for that.
Director Maynard?
Does everyone have a copy of the doctor's note?
No. Is it here?
Please pass this down, because this is also medical privacy issues here. When you read after the first paragraph, please don't mention the ailment or concern, but there is a concern. My concern, and this is with you, Mary, is this particular tree that puts out a pollen that compromises her health. Where is the nearest one? Because there is a thing called winds, there is pollination, particles travel. Where is the nearest tree of this sort that's not on their property?
So I was, it was requested yesterday that I provide some information on trees in the vicinity, but I was asked to provide information on the trees on the streets, the streets surrounding her street.
Yes.
So, and that's what I provided. So I didn't look to see where the next tree was, but there are none on either of the streets in front or behind, north or south of her, say, or going east-west either. So there are not very many Arizona ash trees left in Rossmoor. It was at one time planted widely here. It was one of the original trees. but I believe there's only 29 species left, specimens left in Rossmoor.
Okay. If the family would like to come up.
I would love to, as I spoke.
But people can't hear you unless you're in front of the microphone. Yes.
I've had major medical issues.
All right.
I couldn't speak or write for a year. So it's very hard for me to even speak in front of you all, and I appreciate this. But I can't even go into the front yard with my grandchildren. I do not walk around Rossmoor because of my medical issues. And I just ask for some compassion, and if you could just help with the situation so I could just at least, live properly. We paid our taxes. I've been there for many, many years, and this happened recently. It wasn't like, this has been going on for years and years. And I just ask if you could just please help me, if you have any compassion. And that's all I can really say about it. You can see the report, and if you have any questions, I'm more than welcome to answer.
Anyone have questions?
No, I don't have questions for her.
Was there a discussion, I know we had it with the prior one, was there a discussion about replacing the tree?
I was going to say that
Go
after
ahead,
she was
Director
done,
Yes.
everyone at the tree knows that if this does go through, they pay for the removal, they pay for the new tree, they pay for the planting of the tree. So any decision we make isn't a burden on budgets per se. It's more about following our tree policy. And on this one here, I believe that there are extenuating circumstances of health, wellness, and livelihood that surpass our policy. So I will make the motion that we, for this particular tree on St.
Albans.
Albans, that we proceed against our policy and authorize the removal and let them pick a new tree at their expense and go against our policy. That is my motion.
Any further discussion from the board? Director DeMarco?
Is there a
Well,
second?
okay.
Oh.
I
Oh,
was,
I don't
first,
know.
if you wanted to discuss, or someone can second, either way.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been seconded. Further discussion?
Mary, so this is not a tree we plant any longer?
No, this tree is no longer planted as a parkway
Why don't we
tree.
plant this tree any longer?
A few issues with it, mainly the structural issues with the tree as it grows. It tends to have codominant structure, which means two stems of the same size or large limbs of the same size growing from the same point, and that always causes a structural or a weakness.
Got it.
That in itself isn't a huge issue because a lot of trees have that kind of structure, but these trees at around 40, 50 years old start developing decay. They lose the cell element that makes the trees flexible, which is cellulose. So they develop what they call brown rot, which makes the trees very brittle. So along with that structural defect, they also tend to weaken and split apart because of their lack of flexibility.
Okay.
So that's the main reason. And there are other trees that produce the male flowers that, cause the pollen, hay fever issues in the springtime. But that, is also an issue with this tree. They do produce a lot of pollen.
Thank you, Mary. And Mr. Strada, thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much. Yep. Okay, that's it. That's it for no more
Yeah,
questions.
Director Remney, did you have any comments or questions? All right, I'd move for a vote. We'll go ahead and do a roll call as well.
Roll call. Director Maynard?
Aye.
Director Shade?
Aye.
Director Rimney?
Aye.
Director DeMarco?
Aye.
President Searles?
Aye. Thank you, Mrs. Serrata.
Excuse me, but for the record, our first was Director President Searles, and then the second was. First was Maynard,
and then Remne.
Renee, okay, thank you.
Moving on to agenda item C3, citizen request for removal of 2 parkway trees at 3101 Kittrick Drive. Mr. Mendoza.
President Searles, members of the board, same issue. We have a request for a tree removal at 3101 Kittrick Drive. The removal request comes from Jack and Lisa Wynn. The request is 2 parkway trees in front and on the side of the home, and their request is due to sidewalk damage, surface roots that are preventing landscape work in the parkways. It is a fairly new home that they rebuilt. It's beautiful, and I'm sure that they are concerned about the parkway. And one is a liquid amber, and the other one's a, help me here, Mary, a Brazilian pepper.
Brazilian pepper.
Yes. And Mary's here to answer any questions. She's not recommending removal of the trees. They're healthy. And her summary is based on visual observations. The tree should be monitored and inspected every 4 months, and to review the increase of risk and require any mitigation. And again, the process here is it's continually, I guess, needing hardscape replacement, grinding of the sidewalks or whatever. The county does keep records. And when they deem that, hey, this is ongoing and it's costing us too much on an ongoing basis over a couple of years, that's when they come to Mary. This particular tree isn't having that issue, and we checked it out with the county, and
It is not? I'm sorry?
No, it's not.
not,
Okay? So Mary's here to answer any questions, and I'm sure the committee's also going to give you their...
I would like to make a point of clarification. In the tree committee, she had 2 trees. She already said one of them, never mind. Do you
She
recall
did.
that?
Yes.
So it's not 2 trees, it's only 1 tree, and it's the one
In front.
front-facing their house, not, they're on a corner, so it's the
It's the
one
liquid amber
front-facing.
tree, so it's the first one.
The liquid amber,
in the-
okay.
in the report.
So that's the point of clarification, there's just 1 tree for removal.
Thank you.
And I'll lead it to our chairman.
Director Shade.
So on this tree, again, it has the issue, the big issue with the tree. The big main issue is its droppings. It drops those little spiky round balls that we're all familiar with. We've seen throughout the neighborhood. Everybody knows these because we see them all over Rossmoor. There was a claim that the resident has their senior parents living with them, and it was a concern for their senior parents, and the tree is actually out in the front, and it's, they're concerned about them falling down or injuring themselves with these little spiky balls. And it is a true concern, a real concern, something to be concerned about. But again, I'm going to just say that there's too many trees that we have in Rossmoor that have this issue to say that this is a green light to get the tree removed. I don't believe that it falls under that category of urgency or, a vote for us to do that, because if we did that, we would be removing quite a few trees from Rossmoor, and that's not what we are. We're a tree city. So we need to be respectful of our trees, and for that reason, I'm going to request that we vote to keep the tree. I'm going to vote in the tree favor and say that as much as I'm sorry that the tree has that issue with it, but we cannot vote to remove a tree because it has droppings. That's what trees do, sadly. So that's my vote, keep the tree.
Director Maynard.
I have or had the same tree, which was a liquid amber. I have a different tree now, but it's all the same genus, maybe genus species, I don't know, but it still does the same dropping. These are those little round balls with the little spikes. The one that those coronavirus drawings kind of look like. If you've seen them, they're everywhere. I walk every single day in my neighborhood, and I kick them out of the sidewalk just in case someone is walking barefoot. They did a major remodel on this house. I've walked by their house many, many times. I don't want to question their sincerity that they think it's a health issue, but I have been in front of this house, where the tree is located, where their driveway is, where I have older parents. They are in their upper 80s and 90s, and if I did drive them to my house, I would pull them straight up the driveway and I'd walk them on the side part into my house. There would be no issue. I hate to say it, they spent multi-millions on a beautiful house. I personally think they just don't like the aesthetic, and they're using tree droppings as a rationale for a red herring of safety issue, which does not exist. In Mary's report, she says there is no posed to human threat or injury. And with my colleague here, Joe Shade, I too am at the position on this committee to deny this request.
Okay. Director DeMarco, did you have any questions for the committee?
I don't have any, let's see. Mary, it appears that, so this is an older tree, it's got a nice canopy. I'm looking at it on Google Maps, it's green on Google Maps. And it looks like most of the tree is over, the median and the sidewalk. It doesn't like infringe on their yard or anything like that. And from your pictures, I see the same thing for the most part. I'm just looking at it on Google Earth.
Yeah, liquid ambers tend to be more upright
yeah.
growing trees in habit, so they don't have the spreading canopy that other species do.
And looking at the base of the tree, while, again, this is an old tree, so it's grown up, but it appears like they've cut out this sidewalk before and cut the root system. And, I mean, the tree is still a healthy tree in spite of that being done, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to concur with the committee in terms of the recommendation and vote that way. So that's it.
Thank you, Director DeMarco. Director Rimney?
I think I would concur with the committee on this one, but I would like to request moving forward, Director Searles, that you consider revisiting the policies so that they are less subject to interpretation of what the policies are, and that we look at them through the lens of the health and safety not being subordinated to the health and safety of the health of the tree. And it's not to change anything, but to review them, because I don't know the last time the policy was reviewed. But going forward, I would like to make it more clear as to what the policies are that we are enforcing, because I'm feeling a little bit limited by this one, but I can support it. And where the dissatisfaction of the people and everyone thinks they're right in what they're doing, and it sets us up to disagree rather than facilitate agreement and working together. But I would support the recommendation.
Okay, I know the request is heard. I believe we can add that later to the director items so that it be addressed to the committee as a whole rather than as to the agenda item here. I have no further discussion. Is there a motion? Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, motion, I'm looking at I just got phrases. Enter two-way, I'm on the wrong thing, guys. Give me a sec. Are you ready to make a motion, since I'm not? I'm screened out.
I can reword what you said last time, but like.
Okay, let me see. Citizen removal. Okay. I make a motion to reject the citizen request for removal of parkway trees at 3101 Kittrick Drive.
A second?
All right, we'll do a roll call, please.
Director DeMarco?
This is the motion to reject.
Motion to
Yes,
reject.
yes.
Director Rimney?
No, I'm confused. I think it's upholding the committee recommendation, right?
It's true.
Yeah, correct, it's to reject.
It's
to reject.
It's rejecting the resident's
Yes,
request.
okay, yes.
President Searles,
Aye.
Director Shade,
Aye.
Director Maynard.
Aye.
Thank you all. And again, thank you, Mary, and to the tree committee. It's
Yes, thank you,
greatly
Mary.
appreciated. Oh, you're still on the agenda, Mary, right? The agenda item C4, I apologize. It's,
No?
no? Okay, never mind.
No.
Sorry, I had scrolled up to look at tree list. Okay. Item G2, a discussion and action regarding authorizing the general manager to enter into a contract extension with Enriched Farms and Avanti Harvest, our farmers market. Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you. President Searles, members of the board, in looking at the farmers market agreement with the contracts committee, they asked me to go ahead and negotiate new terms or review the contract with our contractor, Avanti Farms, who's been with us since 2022. We've had sporadic success with the farmers market. We've tried, they've tried, and we just found that in our discussion with them that it would be a good idea to go dormant during the months of November, December, January, and February because of the weather and their issue with securing ongoing vendors to come out and provide services. That saying that, you know, there are still people coming out during those months. It's cold, they're hit and miss, they come, and but I think in the best interest of service that we go ahead with making those months dormant and kind of following the daylight saving time zone in order to get the word out that that's when we will have a farmer's market. That'll also give us time to gear up and provide some ongoing recreational programs that might draw families to come out. In discussing this with Chris, we brainstormed on not giving up on programming and maybe possibly coming back to the board during a budget consideration to do some low-key, low-cost programs in the building because of the weather, either showing a movie for kids, free popcorn, that kind of stuff that would encourage families to come in and use the facility and get together and keep ongoing Thursday nights, some type of program going so they're used to coming out on Thursdays. So we're contemplating that. We'll come back with some recommendations. But Avanti Farms has agreed to this new contract, and the attachment one is a letter of their confirmation by Jason Davis, their representative. So that concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Was there any further discussion that the Personnel and Contracts Administration Committee wanted to add?
I just have one question. I know that it came back at the midterm, the mid-whatever adjustments, where money was contributed into bolster and helping and doing things like that. Have you given consideration, or is there any room in the contract for who's paying for those things? Because having them come in when there's an idea of you might need help kind of leaves the board and the budget without direction on that. So can we get a more definitive number of what you expect to spend helping them?
Can you repeat that? I can't.
Okay. Yeah, what I'm looking at is rather than, gee, I think they could use some help, let's do something. Is there a way we could put something in the budget that provides for assisting them?
Yes.
Rather, okay, yeah, because having that more definitive and nailed down would be helpful and would allow
Yeah.
us to plan better.
That'll be part of the budget process, yes. Thank you. Thank you. I understand that.
Director Shea, did you have anything further?
No, I think that I'm going to agree with Ms. Director Romney on that. Definitely get some more defined answers regarding that, and otherwise then move forward.
Well, the goal of this agenda item is to enter into a new agreement, though.
Yes.
So are you saying you guys don't have enough?
No, I think we're good.
No, we're good.
We're good, yeah.
I move,
Just a
we
question.
authorize you to enter into that agreement.
Definitely. Second the motion?
Any further discussion?
So the only changes in terms is it's
Seasonal.
seasonal now,
Yes.
starting April
Well,
through June, April through October?
It'll go
with the time change?
March through October,
March through October?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're good with that?
yes.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Hearing none, thank you. Passes. Moving on to item G3, discussion and possible action regarding authorizing the general manager to enter into a 2-year professional services agreement for tennis instruction at Rossmoor Park. Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, President Sherrills, members of the board. This particular agreement has already been approved by the board, but when we sat down with our tennis pro, Bo Berglund, he said, hey, I have a second thought here. I'd like to add something to it if we can possibly, if we have time to do it. He wants to use volunteers in order to offer more lessons or to group lessons, and he usually uses high school kids, and he wants that, I guess, flexibility in the contract. So when talking to our attorney, it's a little more exposure when we do that. So our point to Mr. Berglund is you would have to give them fingerprinted, we'd have to get them approved, they'd have to be on an approved list to be out on the courts with you and helping the kids. And because it's a little more, I guess, exposure to the district, we went from a $1 million to a $2 million coverage. And he was in agreement with that. So before you tonight is the amended agreement to allow for volunteers to help him under those conditions. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Is there any discussion from the Personnel and Contracts Committee?
I just have one question on that. Our attorney, when you made those recommendations with the considerations you did, are you comfortable with the resolution to where that is, to where you're supporting that recommendation? I don't know quite what the issues are, and I'm more interested in, are you comfortable with them?
Yes, I believe these are financially prudent increases to the insurance policies. We also changed, the revisions to the language in the previous agreement are highlighted in yellow. But I'm comfortable both with the revisions to the language as well as the insurance amount.
Okay.
I got it.
Director DeMarco.
So some of the volunteers would be minors, right?
Yes.
Okay, and they're going to get fingerprinted?
Yep.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Director Shade?
No.
Director Maynard?
Yeah. So he wants to bring on some volunteer high schoolish students, I'll call them high school.
Or, some of them might be 18 or older, yes.
Okay, but some of them will be minors.
Yes.
And by law, there's certain compliance that has to happen. He has to fingerprint them, or we have to
He
fingerprint?
fingerprinted. Well, okay, here's how that works, Director Maynard. He would send them to and I'm trying to work this out with the sheriffs, to a location where they can get fingerprinted. We have a code, our own district code. Cities have them, different entities have your own codes. And when they go to get fingerprinted, we fill out the application, they put our code in, the reports come back to us, they're confidential. So he would pay for that, but we would get the responses if there was any issues.
And who monitors this?
I do.
Do we have an
And-
SOP
and
in place?
Carolyn is getting registered also as a monitor.
Do we have a standard operating practices,
Yes.
SOPs identified?
It's in our policy, yes.
Which policy is this falling?
I couldn't, we adopted it a few years back, and it's our fingerprinting policy. And all of our employees have been fingerprinted sometimes, and with COVID, the DOJ mixes things up.
Okay.
And there's a couple of employees that have been fingerprinted, but as I look for their responses or the confirmation, they're not there, so I'm sending them back. But 99% or 90% of our people have been fingerprinted, and I monitor the responses and the records that come in and determine, hey, if somebody had a DUI or something recently, I would respond to that and make sure they're not driving one of our vehicles or
Yeah, this all falls under the DOJ background check in the contract.
Yes, it's policy number 2400.
Is policy 2400 in this contract and referenced in this contract?
Well, they wouldn't be our employees. So our employees, we pay to have them
Okay,
done.
yeah, but we're talking about the Bow contract. I just want to make sure we're buttoned up here.
Certainly.
Because I see section B, and unfortunately, the page, there's double, I can't tell you what page it is. But on section 9B, there is a Department of Justice background check. That's contractual for his subcontractors.
Director Maynard, the issue is he's required to do this by state law.
That goes back to my question. So there are mandates, there
Yes.
are compliance,
Correct.
and that's all taken care of in this contract,
Correct.
to
He is-
your satisfaction?
Right.
Okay.
This contract, this is the standard language we've been using, although it's expanded to include, subcontractors, high school students and so forth. But this is the standard language that's always been in the district's tennis professional agreement, tennis pro agreements. These are
Well, yeah, but
requirements
it's
of
easy
state
when
law.
it's Bo, when he is the one guy, but now,
Right.
my concern is this can be a turnstile of flaky teenagers who want hours, sometimes don't want hours, and how are we actually going to police this for the safety of the kids playing tennis?
But that would be, I don't mean to interrupt, but that would be Chris at the facility monitoring and, yeah, there might be some mishaps once in a while that we miss somebody, but he'd be working with Bo to keep that list required and up to date.
Okay, 'cause that falls under section 3. They're on prohibition against subcontracting no, that's different, that's a different issue. Okay, I don't want to oppose this, but at the same time, I'm concerned about policing this and coming and going and not having continuity. I liked Bo because he has continuity. I am a little concerned about his proposal and having a changeover of multiple teenage age people and not monitoring to make sure they're the proper ones that have been vetted by law. I am concerned.
Mr. Mendoza, how many does Bo think he's going to use? What's his guesstimate?
I don't know. I
A
would
few
imagine a
or
few, just a few, yeah.
Because we only have 3 tennis
Right,
courts.
Yeah, well, he only has one court he uses on an ongoing basis. He has requested, and this is, internal, he has requested to do some group lessons. Now,
And he needs help with the group lessons.
well, but also with the group lessons, you would want more than one court because you've got groups,
Yeah.
you have more kids, and that's where he would need help. We've been in discussion with him, and this is, like I said, an internal, I guess, usage issue. We would never give him prime time because the 3 tennis courts are
Yeah,
hard to use.
that-
So we're looking at some non-prime time between maybe after school to 5 o'clock, where he would have 2 courts.
Yeah.
And that's when he would bring in 1 or 2 kids to help with this.
But I'm just, I'm hearing Director Maynard, so if, let's just say he reports 4 volunteers who have been background checked and on the list, and, there's a possibility that either a 5th or others come on, and we're just going to have to trust him that, hey, everyone that's on the court, we all know what Bo looks like, so that's easy right now, but having, high school volunteers, it's just, Director Maynard brings up a good point. And again, this is like more oversight, for the amount of money that we're getting, is it going to be manageable? Like, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah. There's a number of ways of doing it, and, Bo and I have talked, and Chris is talking to him. If the kids sign in, on some kind of form, we will have a list. Chris will sporadically monitor it and make sure, and we're going to take Bo at his word, and if something happens, we'll have to deal with it, yeah.
Does this mean that Bo will actually be at the courts at the
Every time.
the whole time? Okay,
Yes.
well, that's,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. I understand what you're going there, yes.
All right.
no further, I move to a vote. Let's see, permitting or authorizing the general manager to enter into a 2-year professional services agreement for tennis instruction at Rossmoor Park. Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay.
No.
Vote is 4-1. Thank you. Moving on to item G4, discussion and possible action regarding public employment. One position title of interim district general manager. Is this something you should go ahead and introduce, Tarquin, or?
I'm happy to do so if that's the board's pleasure.
Yeah, I believe it'd be more appropriate.
Thank you. So, General Manager Mendoza is currently a salaried employee. He's the appointed general manager of the district. As we know, the district is in the process of recruiting for a new general manager following Mr. Mendoza's announcement of his intent to retire from full-time service with the district. Mr. Mendoza has requested that in the interim period, while the district is searching for a new general manager, that he be converted to an hourly employee to work on an hourly basis as set forth in the agreement. This is Mr. Mendoza's request, and he presents this. I have drafted this amendment for the board's approval.
All righty, discussion. We'll start Director DeMarco.
No, I do not have any questions.
Director Rimney.
Yeah, I have concerns with it because it has no definitive path forward. It's one thing to say we have an interim, but we've been looking for a general manager for 9 months now. And when we approved this, it felt as if we were getting close to being able to making this a short-term bridge from one to the next. And I don't know that we can say we do or we don't. And without looking at it through the eyes of it may be longer rather than shorter, I think that we should, I agree we have to have one, but I'd like to be able to revisit it and look at it. And I don't know if that requires tabling, reconsideration, or what. But this just kind of, to me, feels like kicking the can. And it's a bad choice of words, and I'm not filtering them right now. But I am not comfortable approving it with all of the open-ended pieces because General Manager Mendoza has resigned and indicated that he doesn't want to be general manager here, and this was intended to be a short interim agreement. And so I'd just like to look at it, and once we've looked at it, if that's the pleasure of the board, I'd feel comfortable. But right now, I'm not sure that we've considered it through those eyes.
Director Shade.
I'm going to have to agree with that.
Director Maynard.
I don't necessarily agree with that because the name interim is a stopgap measure, not necessarily a kick-the-can measure. And I think if we don't enter into an agreement and we're not successful, we need to have security in our place of having an executive who knows how to lead this district, which Mr. Mendoza has. So the idea of, well, what if this takes too long? Well, that actually, to me, makes my point of why I'd want to have an interim contract with our experienced general manager. Because what happens if we lose both? Is our district better off? No, not at all. We need active leadership for this district, and I believe we need to secure an interim position. And the goal, obviously, is to find the replacement, the ongoing, longer-term solution. But the fact that we don't have a definition of what the time is for what we call interim, I don't see how that plays. So I am in a different opinion.
If I could get a clarification from Tarquin, is there an, I guess, purely operationally required, we need a general manager, correct?
Correct.
Okay. and Mr. Mendoza is general manager based on his stating he would continue to serve even though he gave his resignation. Are we in already a gray area of not having a agreed upon general manager by contract at this point?
I would say gray is an accurate description of the status at this point.
Okay.
That's a clarification question.
You may, Director Ruminet.
Definition-wise, is there a difference between interim general manager and acting general manager?
Interim implies a short period, some limited duration, whereas acting typically implies that the acting person was I don't want to use the word lower, but a lower level employee who is filling the shoes of the general manager because something has happened to the general manager. The general manager resigned or is no longer here, and then the acting is often eligible or could be appointed to be the full-time permanent general manager, whereas interim is just a stopgap period. Someone serves as interim general manager for a limited period of time with no expectation that he or she would serve as the full-time general manager.
Do we have anything in the contract indicating that it is a short-term period of time at this point? Because I'm not saying we don't need it. I agree with you 100%. I'm just looking at revisiting what the contract actually is, given our situation.
So there's no specific time limit. It's open-ended. However, the board is certainly could add a time limit, make it a 3-month agreement, a 1-month agreement, a 4-month agreement at the board's pleasure.
And just, council, feel free to tell us when we are getting close to any lines that should be put into closed session.
Yes.
I know the board feels that way in its entirety. Director DeMarco.
Joe, what would you like to do? I mean, we've had discussions on this. If and when we hire a new general manager, we've hired a new general manager.
Well, I think we all have the best interest of our CSD in mind. I put in 6 years. I don't want to walk away and have any negative issues or anything, not covered. So my position is, hey, I'll stay. Yeah, it's time for me to either go to work part-time somewhere, or it's just that feeling that I have for my personal well-being. And the salary part means you can just work, unlimited hours, which I've had in the past. And I want to cut down just a little bit and, keep that 40 hours and kind of be a little more disciplined with myself and my time. So that's the justification there. But I have given you my word that I will stay until you find somebody, and I will help train them if needed. That's up to the board. Okay?
Director DeMarco, do you have anything?
I don't think there needs to be, I'm taking Mr. Mendoza at his word that he's staying on to help us out, and I agree that we need a interim, we need a general manager, call him whatever you want, but, and certainly Mr. Mendoza is a seasoned general manager for RCSD, and if this process takes a month or 6 months or a year, I'm hoping that Mr. Mendoza is going to fill that gap, and does it have to, he's still, well, Tarquin, is this still in this new contract? Is Mr. Mendoza an at-will employee?
Correct. He is an
Okay.
at-will employee,
So-
at-will hourly employee.
And does it say in here, let's see. So if we wish, we can say, Mr. Mendoza, you're not needed, and because we've hired someone new, if we want to do that, can the board do that?
Yes.
Okay, so in my opinion, we don't need an end date on this. The end date's going to be the board's decision when the services of Mr. Mendoza is no longer needed.
So procedurally, what are we voting on for this agenda item G4.
So from a procedural perspective, you're voting to approve amendment number 1 to the Rossmoor Community Services District Employment Agreement, District General Manager Joe Mendoza, to convert Director Mendoza to, General Manager Mendoza to an hourly employee, at-will hourly employee from an at-will full-time employee.
So in lieu of restating that, I make that motion of what Tarquin just said. That's my motion.
man.
And I'm glad we're being recorded, Carolyn. You can get it from Tarquin.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
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 We have a nay from Director Shade and from Director Renee. Passes 3-2. Thank you. Moving on to item H, General Manager items. Thank you,
Yes, sir.
Tarquin.
You're welcome.
President, Cyril's members of the board, Mary already reported on Arbor Day, which is scheduled for April 22nd. Also, the board asked me to do a little research on the fire hydrant issue and the fire that happened on February 10th. And I believe I talked to Mr. Ken Vaccarelli of the Golden State Water District, and he assured me that our fire hydrants are being inspected once every 3 years or replaced. And they did do a project where they replaced 63 of 325 hydrants recently.
63 of how many? I'm sorry.
63 of 325. Okay?
Thank you.
And Mr. Vaccarelli reported that the leaking hydrant that took place on the 22nd has been monitored, has been fixed, and was kind of a just a freak act, act of whatever that some of the bolts malfunction. They are prepared when that happens. The fire department is, and they move to the next hydrant. They have enough hose. They felt that everything was in place. He felt that the report given by the fireman, Captain Kane, that was here, called it a catastrophic failure, and he feels that wasn't the case. But either way, the fire was taken care of in a quick and timely manner, and they felt everything worked in place because of their preparation in having those situations arise. And they do monitor every hydrant every 3 years, and they feel that their system is good and that our Rossmoor is being well served. I can have Mr. Vaccarelli attend a meeting in the future, but that's the report I was given.
Is that okay? I've got a question.
Yeah, Director Maynard.
So they monitor it. Do they keep a record of it?
Yes.
Is it kind of like when you go in an elevator and it says the permit's on file, and you could find out where that permit is on file?
Yes.
Is it something we can have on our website,
can-
that it just, if it is public and it is a public record, that there's, 384, 65 were just done last year, and anyone could go and click on a button and see when the last time a fire hydrant was inspected correctly?
I
If
can
it's
re-
all on file, it would be great if it was public.
I can request that, yes.
Yeah, I
For
don't need to
instance-
see him, I just need to see public proof, and I think that's what the public wants now.
Okay, for instance, just this week, got a knock on the door, and it was, I think, 4 firemen that came in and inspected all of our what do you call it?
But then do
Fire
they put a
extinguishers.
tag that says inspected on this
Yep,
date?
yep.
But they don't do that on fire hydrants.
No, they keep the record, but O'Merrill
Yeah.
does this on a regular basis.
Right.
He logs them in, makes sure all of our extinguishers are up to date. So I'm sure that's the same situation with the hydrant, but I can ask for that.
Let's find out how they record keep that and have proof points
Okay,
of their compliance.
all right.
No, I think that's a great idea. Just like we have a record of all of our trees, it's certainly that the chief or the captain or whoever the fire department person was last time said catastrophic failure. So
Those
I
were
would
his
love to
words.
pull that fire hydrant and see if indeed
Its last inspection date.
it's adequately documented or, inspected, and we should have a right to know that. I mean, do we just, we don't want this type of failure to happen again. We had a fire today on,
We did?
yes,
Copa de
Copa de
Oro.
Oro.
Copa de
and-
Oro, yes.
And
Wow, that's why my
I'm hoping that all the fire hydrants
surprised
worked,
you didn't know.
okay? I heard it was put out quickly. But again, I
Somebody
think
texted
that's a legitimate ask, that if they keep a record, can you just share the record? Maybe, hey, once a year, or when you inspect it, here's the...
Just so we see the dates, and none
Yeah.
of the dates should ever be over the 3 years, if that's their policy.
And again, when, I forget his name, but when he came, when they replaced the 63 3 years ago, those hydrants were failing. There was a pressure problem, so they came in and had to replace 63 of them. So do they need to replace any more of the 325? Where's your report log on the history of each hydrant, and just kind of reassure the public that, yes, all of these, they're all numbered, and here's the safety inspection if you'd like to see it, because I've never seen it.
And here's the next scheduled date.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of that information is on their website, so a link from ours to theirs would give you a lot of that. And
Good.
when they're coming through, they're not necessarily doing inspections, but it's part of their routine maintenance. And they're periodically and routinely doing that, just like we do grid for trees, they do grid for the water and the flushing systems and all of that. And the community knows most of that, because you'll, on social media, always hear about the brown water coming out of their faucets. That's usually because there's been some flushing done.
Anything further, Director DeMarco? Director Rimnay, did you have anything you'd like to?
Oh, I've talked enough, thanks.
Okay, and we're still talking about the fire hydrants. Anything, Director Shade?
No, thank
All
you.
right, go ahead, continue on, Mr. Mendoza.
The third item on the general manager report is talking about our canopy project. Everything's moving forward. We did get approved plans, and we've ordered our equipment and our structure. However, there was a kickback on one of the plans asking for some adaptation to the submittal that required us to do some ADA improvements in the parking lot for van parking, ADA accessibility. And basically, our argument there, or our response for clarification, was that's not our jurisdiction.
Yeah, that's the county.
So it's the county. We've been back and forth for about a week and a half. We did get a message from their engineer and their planning approval saying they were going to have a meeting and they were going to all talk about it because it's a unique issue. And then the day later, said the meeting was canceled, there was no reason to meet. And so far, he hasn't given us clarification, or he hasn't cleaned it up in the computer to where we, look daily to see if those things have been remediated. So I don't see a problem. I foresee a good outcome tomorrow when I talk to him. I'm going to ask him, does that mean yay or nay that we're responsible? I believe his response was in our favor. So we're going to move, if that happens, we're moving forward full blast. We'll be done in May. We'll get out bids, and we'll make sure that adjustments is made somehow in the plans. But plans have been approved so far, except for that one item. Okay?
Director Rimnay.
You said that the parts have been ordered. Who were they ordered through, and do we have a cost on what that was for the materials?
I don't have it with me, but I do have a cost, and it was in past reports. It's being made through a agreement with one of our contractors who has a CMAST agreement that we're involved in, and it's a conglomerate type thing where they've already went to bid. All this has been approved. Tarquin has reviewed it, and basically it's I don't know if I'm saying it right, but this group goes out to bid for everything. I mean, if you're building a building with everything, so everything's been pre-bid, and you're paying that pre-bid price So that's where we're going with it.
And since we're still in the plan check process, technically, when will the parts be delivered here, and where will we be storing them?
It's going to take about a couple months for the parts to be here, six weeks, and I'm hoping to have it kind of sent at the same time we're ready to move forward. If not, we're going to have to find a place to store them.
Okay, and yeah, I'd like a little bit
Yeah.
of clarification on where that's going to be,
Yeah.
because we can't sit in the middle of our parks.
Yeah, well, we'll make sure there's security.
All right, thank you. Any other questions regarding the canopy?
Do we have an end date on it? What's our
Yeah, we're hoping to have it done by the end of May.
end of May is the
Yeah.
goal date?
Yeah, it's probably a 2-day project. It's not going to be a long process.
Okay.
Okay. Continue on, Mr. Mendoza.
Okay. The FEMA and COVID relief grant, we received word today that it's moving forward, and we filled out some paperwork, the last portion of the paperwork, I hope. And we will be receiving an amount of $19,957.37. And that was verified today. Carolyn and I were on the phone with the FEMA administration. Shakespeare by the Sea, the board asked me to negotiate a price with Shakespeare by the Sea. We have done that. We're moving forward. That'll be part of the budget for $5,000, and it will be able to see the performances on June 28th and June 29th at Rush Park, not Rossmoor Park. It's typo in there. Okay, and
How did that discussion go?
very quickly. You know, they kind of knew that we have been given this, I guess, directive to move forward. And I imagine they probably watched the video that we had, you know, at a last session, I think it was. And so I had no room to negotiate, and we agreed on the $5,000.
So, and they're going to be there also collecting donations?
Well, that's an interesting one. I've given in the past, so I keep getting mailers with envelopes for donations. I got one yesterday. So I have no way of knowing how much people are donating towards these performances. My gut feeling is, and I've said this in the past, they keep coming back, and they kept coming back 3 years in a row for no fee at all. And when I discussed this with other cities, that's their usual play. It's kind of uncomfortable, but they usually go to a board member or to a nonprofit, and they kind of stir up the district or the city, and they somehow leverage that to get money. City of South Pasadena just decided to nix the program because they did that, I believe, I think the City of South Pasadena gave them more money, but then because of that, they're kind of politicking, trying to get, you know, and that's the nature of a nonprofit. So,
Okay. All right.
I'd like to comment on that. I was not politicked for any organization
say
to do
you were.
that, but you said that is the normal style of what they do to get what they get, first of all. Second of all, it was not a fee that was negotiated because they do work without compensation, and what they get from communities are grants and donations. So clarifying what that is, it's still a worthwhile, and I do want to thank you for bringing them and putting them here, because the community, I've gotten a lot of response from people that are really looking forward to it.
One more thing. I mean, ours is neither a grant. I mean, I don't consider this, is this considered a donation to them? Or, we're just donating the $5,000? Okay.
And in the past, we've been at least 4,500 in previous years.
If
Well,
you wish
and-
to speak on the mic, please come to the mic.
No, I understand, and some years it was zero. I don't know. I mean, I don't have nothing against them. It's just that I did receive a lot of RHA-induced emails just focused on this Shakespeare in the park emails after our last meeting, and after the board already, told Joe to go out and, you have the authority up to 5,000, and, I was getting requests, like as if we were going to stop it, but we had just kind of pushed that through, so it was kind of strange. I got like 10 of them, 10 emails, so, okay, I'm done.
Continue on, Mr. Mendoza.
Okay. OCTA, they're working on the brush behind Martha Ann and the freeway, and that is being remediated and, a lot more safer for the residents behind those homes. They're continuing to do that. I know we hit some weather but that's taking place now. And then the other one is, this last one is March 4th. We attended Captain A.J. Patela's retirement at the command center in Tustin. President Sears was also there, and they had a brief ceremony for him. It was pretty moving. He meant a lot to a lot of people, and he did a great service here to this community. And he's being replaced by Captain Sotella. And one of the representatives are here tonight, but he was just stopping in to let us know that they're around and that they're continuing service until Captain Sotella comes on board. We got to meet him, great guy. I think we're going to keep in step and with good service, and he'll be coming to our next meeting to report out and to introduce himself. But it was good. It was a good night to say thank you to AJ.
Is that a promotion for him?
No, it says retirement.
No, he retired.
I mean, I understand AJ. I'm talking about our new guy.
Oh.
No, I believe it's
The lateral move?
Lateral, yes.
I believe he's helping oversee the OCTA and for essentially issues or
Yes, you're right.
governance, I guess,
We
for
got
the
that
sheriff's
inside.
department.
Yeah, let's see where they're.
Did I miss one? You had a change in that one public meeting?
I'm sorry, seeing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the report, and I
Seems too
didn't,
young.
Go
I
ahead.
didn't read far enough. Number 6,
Someone else.
we had announced that there would be a public meeting coming up at the end of March, and they've changed that, and they're looking for a new date of April or May, and that's to report on to our public, to our residents. They're going to be welcome regarding the OCTA and the 605-405 project. So they'll be getting all that information, and we'll be putting it out on our social media, and we'll be inviting them. But I guess it got moved back, and they're changing their date. Yeah.
Does our traffic committee know the status of what's going on, where they are in the development process, approval process with Caltrans, with everybody? Is this still proposed, or is this a defined plan that will be taking place in the near future? Anyone from the traffic committee on that?
Not yet. We're waiting for their update on the construction. It's been postponed, and that's what they'll be bringing to us.
But we have no idea what they're planning, how they're doing it?
No.
Because what we found is normally by the time we find out, so much has taken place, and it's hard to really, is it in the benefit of Rossmoor or not? Most likely not. Is it going to interfere with the residents who live on Ruthie Lane, Martha Ann? Most likely. And by the way, here it is, and this is going through, but you can protest over the next 3 months, but you're not involved in being a stakeholder and trying to, make change together. So this already is now a concern to me, just your announcement, Mr. Mendoza, that we don't have any sight on what they're proposing. I do know it's all about the exiting, going this way, the Catella corridor, et cetera, but I wish they would work with us. I wish they would bring us in the loop and try to get us as equity partners, not, residents we're going to shove down a new project down your throat.
Afterthought.
Yeah.
Maybe, I know Director Rimney, you're our liaison for the OCTA, so maybe you could work with Mr. Mendoza in trying to get
They're
some
actually in the
information.
final parts of it, and I'm looking forward to this component, because what they have left in the project really is the Catella 605 interchange, and to be talking about where the bike and pedestrian paths are going, and how the ingress and egress on the freeway platforms are doing. Everything else is pretty much finished, the flyovers, the connections, and the other pieces, and those have been public hearings over the past 3 or 4 years, and I believe you were involved in most of those in the early stages.
And from memory, and I don't think the plan has changed, I haven't seen the current plan, but from memory, for 3 or 4 years ago, it was taking away the Los Alamitos space that is to the north of Rossmoor on Catella for a lane to come in, and removing all of those trees. So yeah, it's a very impactful, they want to make signals so it's safer to ride a bike and cross, but the flow's not going to be the same, and they're going to take land. They're going to take land on the north end of Rossmoor. That's actually Los Alamitos' easement and right-of-way, but it's, we have that huge median past the Ruthie Lane wall.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to take 20 feet of that and all the trees.
Is Low South fighting that? We're just going, okay.
Yeah, that's not impacting them.
Well, it's still Low South.
Yeah. So, and since it's on this subject, I did meet with, and this is just me with my other organization, I did meet with Josh Lowenthal, and we talked about just Caltrans, the fire, and he did tell us, if you ever need anything, give me a call, and I know President Searles knows him and probably others, but I just wanted to share that with the board, which we could use probably all the help we can get with what Director Maynard's talking about, where we just want to be at the table
Right.
to discuss, the impacts of our community, which we a lot of times are left out of the decision-making, not the state mandated, hey, we're going to have open meetings, because that's not what happens in cities. You get a little, it's a different treatment. It happens in unincorporated areas like that. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with Assembly Member Lowenthal.
Thank you, Director DeMarco. We'll move on to board member items. We'll start with Director Maynard.
I'm happy for AJ in his retirement, but I'm also a little sad because I thought our community connected with him. He was, in a sense, almost like our acting chief of police, and I appreciate the time and service he did for us, and I hate to see him go. We'll now move on to another lieutenant or captain. I can't remember the title. We've had both. And I think this will probably be my 6th sheriff officer supporting Rossmoor and the safety of our community, and I welcome the gentleman who's taking on. But again, sad to see him go, but I wish him well. And I want to thank Mary for all the work that she has done tonight in preparing for these tough discussions that we had, but also giving the nature of what's going on within the Rossmoor urban forest. And that's all I got.
Director Shade.
Yeah, I will absolutely miss AJ as well. He is an amazing guy. We had an amazing connection with him, and I wish him well in his new adventure that he's got going. So are we going to see him again?
We invited him out, and I don't think he's going to be able to make out. He started another position
Such a
for
bummer we
another
didn't get
agency,
to.
yes.
Okay. Well, please give him our well wishes. Pass on our well wishes, because we are going to miss him. I look forward to the new guy, but we're going to miss AJ. Mary did an amazing job, and those were some hard decisions to make on the trees. Nothing. I don't take anything lightly, and I try to consider the ownership of the homeowner relevant, and it's important they have a voice. I hope everything works out with our tree situation there. We did the best that we could. It's not easy making these decisions, and I hope that we, continue to be an advocate for the trees. It's most important, and that is it.
Director Rimney.
I just wanted to say thank you to the entire staff, because it's obvious the amount of work that's going into this, and there are a lot of moving pieces and people and everything else, and it is acknowledged, recognized, and appreciated, all of you, in what you're doing. Also, I want to remind everybody that we're expecting to have a lot of wet weather, so be extra cautious, slow down, and enjoy our beautiful urban forest tomorrow.
Director DeMarco.
Thanks. First of all, Joe, I think your idea for the winter months and segueing from outdoors indoor, I think that's a very good idea. Okay, I'm looking forward to some ideas on that. That's actually great. So yeah, I'm going to miss AJ Patella. I just know that it took him 2 hours to drive home from here. He lived that far away. So I'm, sad he's leaving. I'm sure his new job is a lot closer to home, so I'm happy for him. I just want to remind everybody, please drive 25 miles an hour on our streets, and look out for pedestrians, kids walking, look out for the e-bikes. I thought it was very, the more we talk about the new laws with the e-bikes, and what the CHP officer was saying, under 750 watts, it's a, bike, and then over 750, it's a motorcycle. I don't think 99% of the parents understand that, so we need to keep on talking about that and educating our parents who buy the bikes, these e-bikes and the fact that you can't ride double. So again, it's great having the CHP in here and the sheriff just explaining that over and over, because we know not everyone watches these. They're a little boring, our meetings. And, one last thing, I think it's important, and I've been advocating this as much as possible. I've asked Carolyn to always put this on our website, and I asked the CHP, and I know the answer, and I ask this question all the time, whoever comes in front of us. The more we complain about things, certainly safety things, to the sheriff and the CHP, the more resources we get. And that's how it works in unincorporated. The more you complain, the same red car drives through the stop sign, document it, give it a call it. Even if it happens, every day, call them every day. And the likelihood of a CHP motorbike coming through at that time is elevated because you've complained. So the power of complaints is very powerful in an unincorporated area, okay? So just want to remind our residents, and it's not a 911 call, it's just you're calling. CHP has a non-emergency line, the sheriff has a non-emergency line, and Carolyn, I think it's on our website, right? Okay, it's on our website. So, okay, and if you still have any questions or you don't know where to find it, we have on our website, drop us a line. It works. I use it from time to time just to see if it works, and Carolyn gets back to me all the time. So anyway, staff, everybody, great job. I appreciate Mary's report. Again, I agree with Director Shade in that these decisions about the trees are very difficult. We don't take them lightly. I sat on the tree committee for many, many years, and we're held to the policies, and certainly we can revisit our policies, but we try to stick as closely as possible to our current RCSD policies on our trees. So with that, thank you.
Alrighty. Thank you, Director DeMarco. I would first want to make sure everyone's aware we have a CIP committee meeting tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, West Room right here, Director Maynard and I. We have a new state senator, Tony Strickland. We have a new returning supervisor, Janet Nguyen. We have Assemblyman Tree Todd. Those are all necessary, I think, in our discussions for the capital improvements that we're looking at. And we have a pretty good agenda there of ideas that we're going to be discussing. So please, which leads me to the residents. Well, I do see your emails. I don't mind them. I don't think anyone minds the emails. It may come across as an awkward form, but, you know, resident participation, regardless of whether it's an opinion that's popular or unpopular, is still participation, and we always want participation. So I am grateful for that, and I'd be very grateful if you were to take some time and look at our CIP agenda and comment or even attend. With that, I want to thank sincerely the tree committee and Mary and Mr. Mendoza for tonight's discussion, because it was well organized. I believe it's perfectly good that we don't always agree, and that policy exceptions are made when necessary. And I think that we all had our meaningful reasons tonight, and I appreciate that from each of you, especially Director Maynard and Director Shade as the committee members, teeing it all up for us. I know Director Rimney asked the tree committee to look at the policy, and so I just ask you do that on your own time, and if you want to discuss it, we can bring it into an agenda item later. I think Director Shade and maybe Director DeMarco, you were the website group last time, is that right?
Yes.
So I was just thinking maybe take another look at the website, click on links, make sure everything's up to date and where we want it.
That's a good idea.
But I'd just say it's about time we take another, just now it's just a maintenance look,
Yep,
not so
clean
much of
look.
a redo. I think Budget and Finance will be meeting soon, not necessarily as soon as we'd hoped, but sometime soon here to work on the 25-26 budget. And
We will be meeting on March 19th for that.
March 19th at this time? Okay. And then I wanted to, I guess I would just end with a thank you to Captain or Officer Valdovinos for his presentation tonight from the CHP. And again, as to the entire board, a sincere thanks to Captain Patella and his service. He did make quite a few people in the room cry when he really officially retired and took his badge, his retirement badge. It was extremely touching. I've never been to a retirement ceremony like that where there were younger and older peers, and they were all very much touched by him. And to have someone in your community who's touched like that, respectfully, from so many different people, was really an inspiring thing. And I'm very excited for him because, yes, he no longer has a 2-hour-plus commute each way.
That was horrible.
And he did it.
Horrible.
He did it when he didn't have to.
No,
He just got a call and,
yeah.
hey, can you kind of, get over here? And he would be there for anyone and anything. Oftentimes they said it wasn't anywhere near his patrol or his gig, but they knew he was the right guy to show up and kind of manage a situation when somebody was out and needed to be there. So that's all I have. I thank you all for a great meeting as our board here. I've been advised by Director Rimney that the closed session is no longer necessary. The agenda item has been canceled by the committee. Do we have to take any action on that, Tarquin? She says there's nothing to discuss.
No, just to recite that it's not going to take place.
I mean, do you two want to confer?
So there's nothing,
Well, you and I could talk, but
there's nothing
there's
to
nothing
report?
worthy of reporting or deciding at this point.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No, it's on the agenda. You can simply state that the closed session has been canceled.
Okay, so yeah, we'll be canceling item J, the closed session.
Tony, you look surprised.
Well, I didn't know we were canceling it. So if there's, so we're canceling because there's nothing to report, because,
That we,
Currently, we do not have any definitive response back from the negotiations that we've been involved in, and I can talk with you after the meeting because I don't want to get into anything that should be a closed session conversation.
Well,
So
then,
I can,
should that then be moved to closed session to give the update to the board?
it's just there's nothing really to report at this time.
Whether to report or whether to update?
Define the difference.
So so whether it's, we should probably meet.
Okay.
We-
is
whe-
that a-
whether
I
it's
was gonna
for-
say, it looks like the two of you are in a committee and you're
Well,
absent.
no, it's,
You're not in sync here.
I would say let's meet, and it might be 5 minutes, but since it's on the agenda, I would say that we should meet, certainly to bring Director Maynard up to speed on where the board is, since he wasn't in the last meeting.
Yeah, I'd recommend we cease further conversation about this and simply recess in closed session.
Okay, so we will move into closed session.
Well, if we could, from a procedural standpoint, if we can open the public portion of closed session, see if any public speakers wish to speak on closed session item, and then we will then recess in a closed session.
Right. All right, so is there, we'll move on to public comment regarding the closed session. At this time, any members of the public are welcome to address the Board of Directors. At this time, only to discuss the items that are on the closed session agenda here as J1 or J2. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak? There is none, so we will go ahead and move into closed session at this time. The open meeting is
Adjourned.
adjourned.
Adjourning into closed session.
Okay. Recess, there we go.
Recess.
I was All righty, and we return out of closed session. Council?
Thank you, President Searles. While in closed session, the Board of Directors discussed the two items on the closed session agenda. While in closed session, the Board of Directors took no reportable action. And that concludes the closed session report for tonight.
All righty. Any additional general council items?
No.
All right, and with that, we adjourn this meeting of the Rossmoor Community Services District. Thank you.